Part four of House of Earth and Blood, I'm going to tell you now, is one of the best things ever written. Okay? This section had me laughing, it had me crying. It is the most violent roller coaster of emotion. This section of this book makes everything else worth it. I would, in fact, argue that this section of this book makes all of Sarah J Maas's books worth it because it is transcendent. It is the kind of work that an author can only do after, at this point, 12 whole books of evolution. We have this, we have Silver Flames out just after this. Like, it's a massive step up in terms of just complexity. And it's at this point where we transition from it feeling like reading a book to I am watching the greatest film ever made. It is cinematic, it is dynamic, and I just want to prepare you for that as we go into my retelling of it. Because from my POV, this this is just the most glorious thing to ever happen ever in any book ever written. So let's strap in. We are in for one hell of a ride. Part four starts and like several days have passed since the reveals at the end of part three. And Sandriel is now in the city. She hates Hunt. So she comes in, he's been locked up, and she pulls up a slideshow of selfies and pictures from Hunt's phone that he's been taking of him and Bryce. And it is very much like torture. Look at what you no longer have, Hunt. This woman's never gonna speak to you again because you've messed up. And she reveals that she now owns Hunt. She has taken him back from Mika, which is, to be frank, worst case scenario for Hunt, full stop. Over to Bryce, and we find out that the Medwitch, who extracted the Crystallis venom from her leg, she is done with her work and has created an antidote for synth overdosing. So Bryce has this anti-venom now, and she puts it in Jezebel's safe and decides that no matter what Hunt's done, she can't leave him to his fate. She's gotten to know and care about Hunt. Through sections 2 and 3 of this book, you know, if I was to describe Hunt, he's a very intelligent, very tech savvy himbo, to be frank. They've become friends, and Bryce doesn't have many friends left, and she decides, do you know what, no matter what he's done, no matter what lies and secrets he's told and kept from me, I cannot leave him to the fate of returning to Sandriel. He's told Bryce about what working Sandriel was like and how their dynamic is very much a callback to Hunt's relationship with the last woman he ever loved. So it's just all messy, messy, messy. Bryce doesn't want that for him. So she rises above because Bryce Quinlan is an absolute queen. So as Sandriel is taking Hunt from his cell, Bryce comes forward and offers to buy him from her. She offers 97 million gold marks, which is money she's borrowed from Jezebel, and she offers her Artesian amulet, which, by the way, looks like 3 interconnecting circles. Very, very familiar to an amulet we've seen before, all the way back in Throne of Glass, because Selena Sardothian and then Aelin Galathinius wear the Mark of Elena amulet. Elena's amulet. The one that's always around her neck. Not the amulet of Orinth, the other one. The one that saves Kale's life when it's put in his pocket. That protection symbol that ends up, you know, actually having a little witch mirror in it. It looks exactly the same as this protection amulet Bryce wears in Crescent City. Coincidence? I think not. This is also a symbol of the Croken Witches, BT dubs. We had Manon explain that at the end of Throne of Glass. But Sandriel rejects Bryce's offer to buy Hunt, and she melts the amulet that Bryce has with her. So Bryce no longer has the protection of the amulet going forward. Bryce offers to trade places with Hunt and go and work and live with Sandriel, which Sandriel says, oh, now that is a pretty good offer. And she says in front of everyone, because I know who you really are, Bryce Quinlan, I know that you're the Autumn King's daughter. And everyone is gagged. Everyone's like, Bryce Quinlan's what? And yeah, then everyone's like, oh, no wonder Rune cares about her. She's Rune's sister. There's nothing dodgy going on there. He's her big brother. But at this point, Rune arrives and he's like, yeah, ignore her. She's not going with you. And Bryce is fuming that Rune's butted in because Bryce wants to save Hunt and she's willing to trade herself in exchange. And Rune's like, yeah, you're my baby sister. Absolutely not. Don't you? No man is worth you, Bryce. And I make Rune right. But she's fuming, so she storms off. And Bryce, now sans protection amulet, is attacked by the Crystallis demon. It finds her. Fortunately, her big brother, Rune Dannon, High Prince of the Valbaran Fae, is nearby with his two best friends, Declan, the one who does all the tech stuff, and Flynn, who I love them all, but I really do love Flynn. And so they save her, obviously, and she continues to head home. She's in a foul mood. What we have now is the summit starting at a venue just outside the city. So this is what Sandriel has come to help Mika host. And it is all about basically the running of their country. You know, it's like a digital conference where people from one region all get together in one place and then they dial each other in. It's a big deal. Alongside Sandriel, and who brings Hunt with her, the city heads, so the heads of all the districts, so Bryce and Rune's dad, the prime werewolf, Danica's grandfather, Sabine, who's like his right-hand woman, and Fury and Jezebel are there. My man Rune, he's there with his dad. It's basically the who's who of Lunathian politics, all in one place. The Med Witch, who worked on Bryce's leg and's been helping Rune out with his research, is revealed to be the new Witch Queen, Hypaxia. So she comes in and Rune is like, I know her. This is the woman I'm kind of meant to be considering marrying. I know this woman already. She's the witch who's been helping me out. And while they're all there in the conference room, Rune decides to trust Hunt with a very important piece of information because Rune is definitely telepathic. It's something other people hypothesize about, but Rune keeps really on the DL because it would make him a massive target for other people if they knew he could read minds or talk to them in their minds. But as they're there in this big conference room, it's a way for Rune to talk to Hunt and they commiserate about the situation Hunt's in now. Rune's like, mate, I'm so sorry. But I could not let my sister sell herself for you. And Hunt's like, fair dues, Rune, fair. Your sister's more important than I am. But back in the city, Bryce is lounging down in the archives, so like the library below the showroom, when Mika, who is very much meant to be getting ready for this summit and arriving and chatting with everybody, shows up because he's made his excuses at the summit and come to see Bryce instead. And somehow he has bypassed all of the security systems to get downstairs and surprise Bryce. So when he comes in, Bryce, like sneaky, texts Jezebel to be like, something's wrong. Mike is here. He shouldn't be here. He's in a place he shouldn't be in. Something really sus is going on. So Jezebel, who is at the summit, checks her phone and is like, okay. And she uploads the live feed from the cameras she's got all over the library, the showroom, her offices, up onto the big screens at the summit. So everybody at the summit sits back and watches what's happening in Jezebel's antiques shop with Bryce. They are too far away to actively help or participate, but they send out auxiliary forces. They say, someone go there, quick, something's happening. And it's such a gag because we have 95% of the major players in this massive story all in one location watching what's happening to Bryce and Mika. It's just a brilliant narrative device where we get to zoom in on the action and then pull back out and see their reactions. And it plays out so well. So Everyone we need to see what's going on is watching it with an audio feed, and they get to see that Mika reveals to Bryce that he's known about Jezebel's secret archive and library below the store the entire time, and that is in fact the mythical library of Parthos, kind of like the equivalent of the Library of Alexandria here. The implication being that Jezebel has taken all of this information long since thought lost and is hiding it down there and has herself, Lehaba, and Bryce protecting it. And it turns out the books down in this archive predate the arrival of Vanir and the Asteri on Midgard. So we get categoric proof that all of the creatures and people we've seen in this book are descendants of creatures that have come there from other places, nay, other worlds. And that these books directly contradict the story the Asteri have been telling everybody. They challenge the Asteri's right to rule this world, and that owning them is an executable offense. It turns out most of the books in the Library of Parthos were burned 15,000 years ago, which is when the Vanir, or the magical creatures in Midgard, arrived through the Northern Rift. This gate-like space Peleus closed off 15,000 years ago. But the human priestesses who lived and worked at this library managed to smuggle a section of the collection away, and that's what Jezebel now owns. It also turns out these original priestesses were the owners of the Arcesian amulets. So the necklace Bryce has been wearing all the way through this story is linked to this ancient library, this secret knowledge that is apparently a massive threat to the Asteri who ruled the world. But the implication here is very much that none of the magical creatures in Midgard are meant to be there. Midgard was a land that had humans living in it, and magical creatures came there from other worlds 15,000 years ago, and the Asteri are very, very invested in ensuring that the current inhabitants of Midgard do not know about what happened 15,000 years ago, to set up this space that the Asteri are now in charge of. Dun, dun, dun. Mika tells Bryce that she is in fact now the Horn. Turns out Danica broke into Luna's temple, stole the horn, and ground it into dust. Because this horn is broken. It was useless in its current form. So she grinds it down to dust and then says to Bryce, babe, let's go out and have a few drinks. The two of them get bladdered and go to a tattoo parlor where Danica has the tattoo artist take the dust and mix it into the tattoo ink and create Bryce's tattoo that runs all the way down her spine, that says in an ancient language Danica supposedly just found and thought was interesting, and says, through love all is possible, on Bryce. So the horn itself was disintegrated, turned into tattoo ink, and put on, well, should we say, seeing as tattoos pierce the skin as they imbue the ink, put into Bryce. She is now physically the horn. All those little particles of the horn, they're now in her body via the tattoo and the tattoo ink. I'm sorry, but there is no way on God's green earth any of us were calling this twist. I will admit, I do think it's a little bit janky, this physical thing, this horn that everyone's been looking for, ground into dust, made into a tattoo. But we'll follow the logic. We'll also brush past the interesting choices in regards to consent, Bryce being turned into the horn without knowing it. But Mika reveals that changing the shape or the construction of the horn, it doesn't dilute its power. And Mika hopes that if he injects Bryce with synth, that's going to fix whatever's wrong with the horn. And alongside a blast of his own magic, that will be enough to activate the horn and open a door between dimensions, which is just crazy. Especially when you remember with the zoom out, everyone else is watching this like, what? Everyone's going, what did he just say? And Bryce is very aware. Look, she's given Jezebel a heads up. There's going to be a recording of what's happening because there are cameras everywhere. So as Mika attacks her, she does her best to get even more of a confession out of him. But he holds her down and reveals that he was a long-term investor in Redner Industries, the company that was developing synth. So he knew about the experiments that were going on and that it was Danica's job to find people that were going to help expand the business, people that were going to be useful. So she recruited the scientists that were hired and ended up creating synth. After helping with just the human resources element of the project, Danica kept an eye on what was going on with the project. Because from her POV, she hoped that something like synth might help humans against the predators of the world, the Vanir that very much do see humans and half humans as lesser to themselves. So Danica had an interest in just touching base every once in a while with how the project was going on. But Danica clocks on and starts getting concerned very quickly as she keeps an eye on the footage of tests. And Mika released a batch of synth out onto the streets as a street drug, knowing that Danica would be concerned and do everything she could to round it up, which she did do as quickly as she could. But Mika caught her with it and started blackmailing her to say, well, look, you've got all this drugs. You're saying you took it from people. I don't believe you. I'll keep my mouth shut if you go and steal Luna's horn for me. At this point, Mika let Danica know that his plan was to use the horn to summon an army from another world so that he could suppress the human rebellion and war going on elsewhere in the world. He doesn't want it coming to Valbara's shores, the area that he is in charge of. He wants to nip the war between humans and Vanir in the bud before it can even start in the area that he's in charge of. And he's got this idea in his head that if he has the power of the horn, the Asteri are going to be so impressed by him that they might invite him to join their ranks and he can basically help rule the world. Danica hears this and is like, not a fan. So she does successfully steal the horn, but instead of giving it to Mika, is like, I need to hide this because Mika is a crazy man who wants to ruin the world. Mika knows that Danica's betrayed him because she does not bring him the horn. So he waits until Philip Briggs is released from prison so that he will have a scapegoat. Then he goes to Danica, demands the horn, and when she says no, he injects her with a ton of synth. So Mika went to Bryce and Danica's apartment that night, injected Danica with a ton of synth, which obviously sent her crazy. And it is in fact Danica that killed the rest of the pack of devils before tearing herself open, according to Micah. I'm a fan of another theory of what actually happened that night. But at this point, we're told that Micah basically gives Danica a ton of synth. She goes mental. She tears everyone else apart and then tears herself apart. But the cameras near the apartment, what they pick up are animal sounds and then Danica simply saying, please, please, which I don't want to go super duper into theories now, but it has been mentioned that the only thing people really say to the Umbra Mortis, aka Hunt, is please. I'm not saying Hunt killed Danica, but if that is the truth, if that's the truth, I would not be surprised. Putting it out there right now on camera. I'm not a fan of many other theories, but if that one turns out to be true, I will yet again be both impressed and saddened by Sarah J Maas. Anywho, Mika's planned her death. And even if Han did it, it would have been because Mika told him to, just saying. So Mika admits to Bryce right there, but in front of everyone on camera, that he killed Danica Fenrir, an entire pack of werewolves, and then has spent 2 years trying to find where Danica has hidden this horn and using the Crystallis demon to try and locate it, because that's what the Crystallis demon was made to do. It was made by the Prince of the Pit to find the horn wherever it may be. But after 2 years, when he was coming up empty, Mika thought, hey, I'm going to get Bryce Quinlan involved because she knows Danica better than anybody else. Which is kind of true, because even amongst all of the lies that were being told about Danica being a drug dealer and this nefarious involvement in synth, Bryce could tell that that wasn't the truth because she does know Danica better than anyone else. So what Micah does is he plants the seed with the Autumn King. Oh, that horn, it's been gone a while, might be one of the reasons why Fae are just gradually becoming less and less powerful, so that the Autumn King will get Rune on the case. Mika has kind of played the Autumn King so that Rune, with all of the things available to him, like, I don't know, having a bestie like Declan that Mika doesn't have access to, would help Mika in his search for the horn. Mika then injected Maximus Tertius with synth to give him an excuse to pull Bryce into the investigation. And then he regularly summoned the Crystallis demon to try and hurry her along and help her find the horn. He is the one that blew up the bomb in the White Raven. He made that whole thing up, hoping that it would stir up some anti-human sentiments amongst the Vanir in the city. By the time Bryce goes to her flat and sees that it's all on fire, the old flat, he was just doing that to fuck with her. Because he's decided, do you know what? I just don't like Bryce Quinlan. It's so bad. So it's just this insane reveal. And Micah says, look, I didn't even think you were the horn. I started suspecting it. But the moment you took that protection amulet off and the Crystallis demon attacked you, it went straight for you. I knew you were the horn because it attacked you before when Hunt was there. It hadn't really had a reason to, but the moment you took that amulet off, the Crystallis demon was like 100% laser focused on you. You must be the horn. So Mika, with her pin down, injects Bryce with synth, which immediately starts to heal all the wounds Mike has given her and, starts giving her this big, massive wave of strength. So she breaks free from Micah, and in retaliation, oh, this is awful, Micah picks up Syrinx, picks up the Chimera, the pet, right? Lobs it into the tank with the knock. The Kelpie-like monster in the fish tank. He throws adorable little fluffy cute Syrinx into the tank to drown and then be eaten by this monster. He grabs a hold of her, blasts magic into her back where the tattoo is, but nothing seems to happen. And Bryce manages to use lots of the books on the shelves are magical. He uses them to get away from Micah. And with the help of Leobar, my tiny little fire sprite gem of a woman, they managed to lock Micah in the bathroom. So he's locked in the loo while Bryce legs it and, I kid you not, dives into the water tank to save her pet. I mean, I get it, but also, no. So obviously the knock tries to get her, and it's all traumatic. It is all high drama. Can you imagine? You've also got this being shown to you with the reactions. There's an audience watching it on the TV like, no, what is she doing? Ah! It's just a really great framing of everything because the people who care about her are watching it like, what the hell, no! But she's attacked by the knock, and she manages to get Syrinx out of the water and get out herself. But her leg is all messed up. The knock, it's had a good go at her, basically. And when she's got little Syrinx, he's unconscious. The little fluffy baby, he's pretty much drowned. So she resuscitates him and starts trying to get him up the stairs, out of the secret library section, up into the shop area. But Mika's almost free. He's banging the door down. He's about to come in and attack them. And there is no way she's going to get up those stairs in time. And we get yet another awful, awful moment because cute little sweet Leia, she's like, "You keep going, Bryce. I'll keep him back. I'll do what I can. I'll buy you time." And Bryce is like, "No, no, Leia, but you don't realize you don't have to stay and like protect the library." Because we find out that what Bryce has done is she's bought Lehaba's freedom from Jezebel. She's bought the contract. So Leaba doesn't work for the library anymore. She doesn't have to stay there and protect all the books forever. And so Bryce is like, come with me, come with me. And Leaba's like, babe, I'm really nosy. And you left the paperwork in your desk. Of course I've read it. I've known since you bought my freedom that I'm not like a servant here anymore, but oh, I'm gonna cry if I say it. She says, just let it be known that my first act of freedom was to protect my friends. And so the little fire sprite, she smashes the tank that the Nock's in, so it floods, and Mike is going to be trapped down there in all this water with the Nock, and he's going to have to fight the Nock, but obviously it's all water, so it kills her. Oh no. Oh no. But yeah, protect my friends. Such a cutie. She was cute at the beginning and she's cute and funny and sassy all the way through, and then she does that because she loves Bryce. Bryce is her friend. Oh, oh, I'm a wreck. I am a wreck. And let me tell you, it gets the tears get worse. I'm gonna get worse. This bit of the book, God, it's so good. So this basement area floods. Leopard dies. Mika's fighting the Knock, and Bryce gets herself up the stairs. But instead of heading for the front door and running away, she carries on and heads towards Jezebel's office because the antidote for synth is in there, and she's been given a lot of it. So she opens up the safe, chugs the antidote, and starts pulling this pieces of this gun off the wall because in Jezebel's office, she has this brilliant big artifact called the Godslayer gun. Okay, it's this massive rifle and it has one bullet. And so she runs, she chugs the medicine, and then, knowing Mika's coming for her, she starts assembling this ancient gun. If you cast your way all the way back to the beginning of the book, her stepfather was a sharpshooter, was a sniper, and we have seen from a little shooting night out with Rune and his boys and Han as they're all like showing off how great they are at the firing range, and Rune's like, I wouldn't bet against Bryce when it comes to shooting, and they're all like, what? And even Han's like, what do you mean? And Bryce is like, let me have a go. And she's there in her like dress. The fan art of this is insane. When she's got the gun, she's like, bam, bam, bam. And everyone has to acknowledge that she is phenomenal. And Rune's like, well, of course she is. She's been taught by like the best gunman to ever live. She's really, really good with guns. So she's putting this big ancient gun together. Mika is running up the stairs to kill her, and it's like you're reading it in slow motion. And the audience at the summit, they're all watching it on tenterhooks, and he slams open the door and he comes toward her. She's got this massive gun, and she just spins round and is like, bang.